DA has presented Parliament with what they call a groundbreaking bill that seeks to assist in stabilizing the fuel price. According to the party, the fuel price deregulation bill seeks to deregulate the fuel sector to increase competition in fuel price setting at both the wholesale and retail level. It says this will in turn lower petrol prices for consumers. So to help us get a better understanding of this new proposed bill, DA's spokesperson on energy, Kevin Malham, joins us this morning. Kevin, great to have you with us on the program. A new record this morning, or as of midnight, for the petrol price here in South Africa. The DA, with this deregulation bill, is proposing a number of things. Outline it for us.
Well, this bill is very straightforward, and thank you very much for having me on your show. The bill proposes that the minister's power to set the fuel price be removed, and that the price be determined by the open market. That would allow retailers and wholesalers to source the cheapest supply and make that available to customers, and therefore compete on price. So that's essentially what this bill does. It also, one of the criticisms that has been raised about opening up the market in this manner or deregulating the market is that it would lead to price collusion or price gouging. What this bill does is it introduces a clause that makes the minister obliged to monitor fuel prices, and where he becomes aware of any price collusion or price manipulation, he is obligated to report that to the Competition Commission within 30 days. So we've put in a check and balance, but this bill seeks to bring South Africa in line with the rest of the world and deregulate our fuel pricing.
I just want to break it down for our consumers just a bit more, Kevin, because one of the other things that I can't find the exact line now in your statement, but essentially what it says is we should be selling generic petrol. So not sort of branded petrol from Total or from wherever else it might be. Is that something that this bill also addresses?
Not in particular, but what it does do is it allows wholesalers and retailers to choose or find the cheapest source of supply and make that available to customers. So you as a consumer would be able to go and find a petrol station that serves petrol at a price that you want, rather than at a price that's determined by the minister nationally. It creates a little bit more competition. It allows those wholesalers to go and source different suppliers and say, well, this one's able to provide it cheaper than that one, and then make that available to the retailers, who would then be able to make it available to consumers. So that's what it allows them to do.
I suppose it also means, in terms of the transport sector, it would mean that trucking companies would find more creative ways of doing the job that they need to do.
Absolutely. It goes beyond that. It also allows for creative solutions in terms of distribution methods. So, for example, many years ago, Raymond Ackerman proposed selling fuel at Pick and Pay supermarkets. And this is something that this amendment would allow them to do. It would allow discounting to come into play. So if you spend, for example, 100 Rand at the local garage shop, you might get a discount of 10 Rand on your fuel price, or whatever it might be. Those kind of mechanisms are not available at the moment, and this would allow that to come into play.
Why do we get the sense that government is just doing what needs to be done insofar as the various pressures are concerned, the pressures on the petrol price? For one, the war in Ukraine. What the DA is saying here, that it's entirely in government's hands to relieve that pressure on consumers.
Well, frankly, I don't think government's doing what needs to be done. I think government is sticking its head in the sand and ignoring the problem. The fuel price impacts on every aspect of daily living, from your basic food price, your food basket, the cost of that, to your transport costs, and so on and so forth. So every aspect of daily living is affected, and it impacts on the inflation. So I don't think government is doing that. But what I think government can do is take note of the outrage of South African citizens and address the problem. And there are a number of steps that we have proposed to do that. Specifically, we said scrap the general fuel levy, which adds R3.93 per litre. Scrap that in its entirety. That's just a corruption tax that's hard to avoid and easy to administer. Scrap that. Find that money elsewhere in your budget for your programs and activities. We waste 300 billion Rand on corruption every year. We said scrap that. The road accident fund levy, another R2.18 per litre. let's amend that, the implementation of that, and allow road users who have valid third-party insurance to claim a tax rebate against their fuel purchases when they submit their tax returns. And then let's deregulate the price of fuel. The ball is now in the ANC's court. They must decide, are they going to listen to the people of South Africa, or are they going to ignore this cry, this plea for help?
Yeah, I'm sure you've thought this through as well insofar as this proposal to Parliament is concerned. But what would be the opposition to what the DA is proposing here?
Well, there are a couple of concerns. The biggest one seems to be that this is going to lead to job losses because fuel pump attendants will lose their jobs. That's actually not true, because we've left a clause in the bill, or in the Petroleum Products Act, which this bill seeks to amend. We've left the clause in that prohibits self-service service stations. So petrol pump attendants will not be losing their jobs as a result of this. That's the first thing. The second criticism that is often raised is that this is going to lead to collusion and monopoly practices and manipulation of prices. We've put in a specific clause that obligates the minister to monitor fuel prices, and where he becomes aware of or is made aware of collusion or price manipulation or monopolistic practices, he is obligated to report that to the Competition Commission within 30 days. So we've put in some checks and balances to address those specific concerns.
So you intend to publish your notice of intention to introduce insofar as seeking to amend the Petroleum Products Act, Kevin. You're publishing in the Government Gazette later this week. It means the public will then be invited to comment on the aims of the bill. I imagine there will be very little comments against it.
I think we might see some interesting feedback, particularly from some of the industry bodies. You know, when the various industry bodies came to present to Parliament, there was a lot of self-interest displayed, and you can't touch this particular aspect of the fuel price, or you can't touch that because it's going to affect my margins. Well, you know what? Every other business around the world operates in a competitive environment. Why should fuel be different? Why should the fuel sector be special?
Kevin, unfortunately, you know, I think your point is well made. Unfortunately, we are out of time. It's 6:48 this morning, now 6:49. Kevin Milam, let me thank you for your time this morning. The DA's Department of Energy representatives, the spokesperson of Energy, joining us there. It's calling it a groundbreaking bill that seeks to assist in stabilizing the fuel price.